Hello, welcome to our show, Embracing Your Design for Midlife Transformation. The tagline, Come Alive to Impact More Lives. As a tiny habits coach, happy for no reason trainer, and the Gene Keys guide, I invite soulful professionals to have conversations related to their life experiences, businesses, human design charts, and hologenetic profiles based on gene keys and ancient I Ching. Enjoy our show.
Hello. This is my honor to have my guest, Caleb Nielsen, who is a performance coach. And I believe he has a lot of great story to share with us. Happy to have you here. Want to say hi to our audience?
Yes, I would love to. Thank you so much for having me on, Sonny. This is, like I said before we even hopped on there, I've been looking forward to this all week. I'm excited to just be here, share some thoughts, some stories, and my experience. And hopefully, what I loved even more, you're like, let's have some fun and bring some joy. So if nothing else, can we do some of that? And I'm excited to do that with you today.
Let me just share a little bit about what Caleb doing and showing his superpower. He is helping all the visionary leaders. And the reason he helped them, because all those people, sometimes they don't even know their potentials. And Caleb is here to lead them through the process to discover and fall in love again with their naked self, which is authentic self without mask. So I'm just curious about, do you have any personal journey for you to realize your superpower?
Yes, and that's where the naked piece is. And when people start to hear that, I know you're going to come on my podcast too. It's called Naked Sunday. The personal journey is just that. It was something called Naked Sunday. It was a habit. And this was 2019. I had just come back from kind of a pseudo honeymoon with my wife. And I was the heaviest I had ever been. I was like 40 pounds overweight. Now, mind you, this is an important thing to note. I was the owner of a gym at the time, like a physical space. Not a good look to be out of shape and unhealthy when you own a health and wellness studio. And there was this, when you get married and you come back from those kind of things, you start to ask yourself the bigger questions. And I had this moment. I looked in the mirror. I was like, I'm not okay. I need to sort this out. And as the story really goes, my wife, so it's not super altruistic to my motives in the beginning, but my wife, I never thought I'd have to thank Christina Aguilera for anything, but my wife was scrolling through something and she's like, look what Christina Aguilera does with her husband. They do this thing called Naked Sunday. As a newly married man, your wife proposing the idea of spending a day naked together, it ranks pretty high on your list. So yeah, let's go. But all that to say, the day showed up and she was not feeling good and she backed out, but committed to the cause. I'm going to make this thing a habit. And I'm really glad I did, because what I didn't realize at that time was the journey that was going to open me up to. And this is, if anything I could share today, I didn't realize until that first day how much I really hated myself. And I looked over at her. It was a lot darker than I thought it was going to be. It was the first time I'd really carved out time to sit physically and quite literally naked with myself and really take a look at my entire life. I asked myself, why do I love myself? And I didn't have an answer. And I looked at her and I go, why does she love me? And here she was. I mean, she's been with me now, I don't know, a little over 10 years. She's been with me through the darkness, through seeing the world through her lens, that I could start to see my value as an individual and as a leader and as a husband, and then one day a prospective father to her, children. What did she see? What was that love? What was that thing that the best part of me, I needed to see? And that journey of coming back to this literal day alone, naked, physically and emotionally, spiritually, whatever, that I just sat with those questions and changed how I viewed the world, The pandemic obviously happened, but it also evolved. How do I go about my work? How do I go about my relationships? How do I go about my health? It changed. I realized that I had this burnout cycle that so many people fall victim to because they're not even aware, trying to keep up with so many other things that don't matter to them. To what does it mean to love yourself and love others in the same breath, and live in alignment with my core values and arrange my time and energy in a way that I can best serve other people. Long story short, it's how I learned how to love myself. And my punchline always comes down to look better naked inside and out, because it's the inside that if we start there, it fuels the outside, whether it's physically, but also in our relationships, in our business, in our pursuit of our purpose.
It's not easy to face ourselves, right? The first time you like sit alone, I believe that take a courage to do it. Particularly, when you're in the middle of something, you think my goal is here. Who have time to sit here, just for 10 minutes and without thinking there and living the present. But I think when we start to allow that to ourselves, give the time to ourselves, that power, right? We can all experience, actually, we have everything, all the power inside, and we just don't use it. Most of the time, we just go out to get it. A fitness owner, then right now you become more like a performance coach. And did you have also, because that Naked Sunday experience, and you start to have aha moments, so you start to know what you should do?
Yeah. So ironically, during this time, I actually went all the way back to the beginning. So that's worth sharing with a lot of people. I've had a tumultuous relationship with what we would call spirituality. Now I call it spiritual fitness. So I grew up when many would call a cult. I used to call it a cult. Now I just call it a life experience. And part of that experience was I was supposed to have an arranged marriage, and a lot of things in my life was about very rigid, extreme, like this is the way, the only way, very dogmatic. And why this is important is that I believe pretty much everybody has grown up in a cult. We get stuck in these very narrow-minded ways of this is who I am and who I'm supposed to be. And when I rejected that, I left it when I was 17, I saw myself continually looking for other external, let's call it rigid dogmas. I would reject whatever extreme, but then would get into a new extreme, always seeking. But that fundamental start there in rejecting what also was, let's call it a spiritual relationship, a more kind of divine pursuit, that I was reintroduced to why it was so important to address the internal. Though I knew somewhere in there, like I kept seeking and kept seeking and kept seeking. This was the first time I saw from like almost like a clinical sense, oh, there's some stuff here, and it is a spiritual self-image thing we need to address. And I used to be flippant with like, just look better naked. But I realized that without the inside part, that was part of it. And in my transformation, until I learned how to love myself, no matter what I did externally, I could make a bunch of money, but then I'd lose a bunch of it. I would have the Barbie girlfriend, and then that would come collapsing down because I was chasing the wrong thing. I wasn't being clear on who I am, what my values are. And during that process of Naked Sunday, it was getting clear on that. What does this connection to something bigger than myself mean? Who am I fundamentally? And for me, I look at the conversation around spirituality, at least from like a secular sense, as the combination of both knowing who you are, an identity, and your purpose. You can obviously plug it into a religious context too, if you want to. But for me, from a very practical sense, that's how I could fall into that space. My mom also jokes, she's like, Caleb, you missed your calling as a reverend. Like, you should have been a pastor. I was like, I kind of am, Mom, in my own interesting way. That part of the process, and I'm bringing out that longer story because I think that that's something that most people miss. What I would call the spiritual weight loss along the journey. I know you and I've kind of even just broached the topic of like that internal stuff that we need to address. I didn't realize that I'd been harboring a lot of resentment,
Mm.
I hadn't really forgiven the past. I hadn't made peace with my parents, with family life, with old things. I needed to go back and make amends so that I could connect to the parts of that that were
Mhm.
good. I rejected some of the goodness in my upbringing. I rejected all those things, but not realizing those were parts of me. Those are
Yeah.
parts of me that I needed to integrate. We don't see the fact that the person you're hating on is mirroring a lot of your own self-hatred.
Yeah.
And it's
Mhm.
through learning
Mhm.
how to love that person, through learning how to love them, you
Mhm.
actually learn how to love that part of yourself. That's
Yeah.
hard because you have
Yes.
to learn empathy. You need to learn how to forgive. You need to learn how to accept, and you need to learn how to move on.
Hmm. Hmm.
It doesn't mean you're going to be buddy buddy and rainbows and butterflies together. It might mean there's new boundaries and all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fundamentally, the inner peace we can have from that acceptance, and I've come to learn that that is essentially the grieving cycle. That letting go process, that was, I think, and I continue to go like there's, I think that it doesn't end until we die. It's an evolution of what I'm continually learning. I need to let go of. There's
Exactly.
just so
Mhm.
much infinite healing that can happen, but
Yeah.
the more I continue to shed those layers, the more of me I see,
Hmm. Hmm.
and I feel more love and more hope and more optimism, not just in myself and my immediate relationships, but it also allows me to see more hope and optimism globally, which is, as I said, pretty hard right now when you see some of the craziness that happens out there.
Hmm.
Um, Noticing that there's all the quotes everywhere. You want to change the world, start by changing yourself.
Yes.
It's
Hmm.
true.
Totally resonate with that. Like it sounds like easier to solve outside, right? We say, well, that is the problem. That is the person, whatever they need to change. But you are so right because something we trigger by the behavior or event is something it reminds us we are judging ourselves in that same category. So I think it is for me to like to share people's genetic profile, called Gene Keys, Golden Path, and also some of the human design charts. And I use them as a tool. We are human being, right? But most of we are human doing. We're doing a lot of
Mm.
things we should and we ought, we ask for. But then there's only the time when you have a pause. Either like you just totally lost everything. That's the pause because you know where to go, right? Or you travel to different culture, you see something totally different, you trigger try to remember about part of you, who you are and why you are, those kind of deep questions. So for
Yeah.
me, the human design chart and gene key profile, it do just like that. Even they are like esoteric, they are like ancient wisdom. You know, we live in a modern society. We're so disconnected about that ancient wisdom. But from my point of view is regardless, there's a piece of information we didn't take a look. For your profile, you're 2 and 4.
Mm.
Based on my understanding, there are 6 different energy expression based on the human design profile. So you are 2, 4. 2 is like a hermit. You have inner wisdom. You know a lot of things, but because living in this busy life, we not necessarily remember that you have a lot of contemplation moments. You need that piece of quiet, the silence to reconnect yourself. And then one people I'm going to talk about, one is just want to know it all with the magnified glasses. I'm trying to figure out all the details. And 3 people, I'm the 3 too, is if you see the house, right? The 1, 2, 3 is 1, 2 people is like the first floor. Then the 4, 5, 6 is on the second floor. And the 3 people is crazy. He up and down all the time because they are very not settled. And the 4, which you are, is friendly person. Like, for example, if you're on the second floor, right? 4 to 5 is the second floor people. Then you open the door, everybody will be there and say, hey, Caleb. And you will say, yeah. So you really like that connection with the group. You are the tribal energy person. It's perfect to grow a community and friendship expansion, those kind of things. And the 5 people is the fixer. They have a practical solution, but the thing is when you open the door, everybody have fun with you. When the number 5 open the door, everybody say, fix me, give me the solution. So those people you push become a leader or fixer. They're not necessarily ready for that, right? So they will have a lot of anxiety in a way. And number 6, you can see that's the house, and number 6 is the seat in the top. He can see a lot of things. He's not engaged with all the silly activities, but he also miss out life. Right. So it's just like every level has their uniqueness, but it's not saying you're right or wrong. It's just when we have a potential profile, we need to be aware nothing wrong with us. We're just different. You need your silence moments, but you also like to engage with a group of people so they can share and you can become part of the community. It's a teamwork. So you're not like number 5 is always in the front of the leader and fixer, but you are part of the team.
Yeah, that's a great description because what I saw is like the 2 extremes of who I am. I love my alone time, but I love to share. I find myself at the front of the room leading a lot of things, but you talked about community building. That it's interesting that that happens that way. I like to get in and like I like to contribute. I like to be a part of the thing. I like to be part of something bigger than myself. But my quiet time is to really allow myself to like, who am I in all of this? I've always been very introspective.
Because everything's energy and our heads and the ajna, that's our third eye area. If the energy don't go in and out easy, then they just become our repetitive thoughts.
I tell my friends all the time, like I'm a great guinea pig because I'm great. You can drop me into your system and I'll give myself over and be like, cool, I'll just go through your process. And I'll find, because of that, I can run into the problems pretty quickly. And I'm like, that's the problem. Very, very fast. And then I can like, because of also my open-mindedness, I'm also allow myself to pull experiences from other disciplines, fitness, business, entrepreneurship, everything, all into one thing. And it allows me to see very clear what the problem is. I don't do well when the people are not receptive to what I'm saying. When I'm like, here's the thing, you have to want to hear what. So in my life, learning how to be patient for people who have strong personalities, allowing them for it to be their idea, especially like I've had to learn that my energy and sometimes my very outgoing, assertive like energy to some people feels threatening. They don't realize that no, I genuinely want to help. I got no like the only time I get really upset is if you just don't listen to what I'm saying because I'm genuinely coming from a good place and I really thought about it. I didn't just open my mouth to hear my words. I mean, I like the sound of my own voice, but I'm not just wasting my words for no reason. Highly open, and I've gone through a lot of experiences because of that. That allows me to have had some perspective, whether it was religious backgrounds, business backgrounds, fitness backgrounds. Like I tend to have plugged myself into very extreme things.
We know who we are, what we are on the energy flow, then using that design to make enhanced version, a better version of ourselves, other than to just model other people. That is that version I choose to, but you might not have the design to really match with that. And even we force it to become somebody we want to become, more often than not, you feel empty. Or you get into the place, you feel like, I got it all. I think what I think on my list, I got it. But why I'm still not happy? I still feel missing something. So you start to chasing next goal. So I think that's the reason I'm fascinated with the science background and I'm getting to the esoteric system. People say, Sunny must be crazy. She got some short circuits or something. But I did get some short circuits, I have to say. But that is for me to jump to the different area so I can see myself and I can share what the experience I've been through.
Well,
So,
even
mhm,
with that, especially when it comes to, everybody has got their brand of spirituality and they try to make it right, wrong, this, that. But what I appreciate about what you were saying there, it's all just a tool.
mhm,
And you're presenting information. And I love what you're doing here with me. It's like, how does that resonate with you?
mhm,
It's just a means to say, hey, here's some information. Does it connect? And if you can be honest with yourself and it connects and you can understand yourself, that's a great tool. Is it
mhm,
going to mean there's all the science or whatever somebody wants it to be on anything? I don't know. Like, I don't care. Like, sometimes I just don't care because, like, does it get you the result that you wanted, that you're needing?
mhm.
I
Yeah.
think so many people turn a blind eye. And that's why I appreciate what you brought about the openness. People won't even remain open enough to see value in somebody else's
Mm.
perspective. I think that's the tragedy. So I love that you're like, let me bring this and the esoteric. You can walk in both worlds and speak both languages. That's so important. That's so important. Most people are not willing to think in somebody else's language for even a second. No wonder they don't know how to get along with people. Duh. Like, they didn't get outside of themselves. Duh. So
Yeah,
I love
yeah.
what you were saying there. I thought that was very astute. That
Mhm.
was very cool.
The silence trains us to listen. Right? Listen to our own voice, the limiting belief, or the thoughts we sabotaging ourselves. So without that contrast, without that duality, the different extreme, there's no way we can really understand the whole thing, who we really are. Because the gene key, I just shared a little bit,
Yeah, please.
is give us actually knowing we are everything we are already. But why most of us couldn't get to that dream is either the dream is somebody else, maybe. And the second, we are the one to block the dream because we don't believe ourselves. We don't give ourselves a chance. But gene keys give us this, we have the three different consciousness level, but we know based on the science, we got more than like 20 different level of the consciousness. But to be simple, okay, so we got three level. The first level is the shadow, which is the default, which is the part we don't like ourselves that much, but usually we try to cover it. We don't want anybody to see it. But when we see somebody doing exactly thing, we start to criticize them because that's what we have too. Then the second level is the gift. So when you start to see yourself constantly doing that defaults, you might have opportunity through life situation, you might shift it to that different level. That's the gift. You will be more creative. You don't have a lot of the structure and boundary. You can just kind of fully and freely to express your energy out. Then, of course, the highest level is potential for every human being is our divinity. So we humanity is always have a divinity, but we don't want to face that because certain way we don't feel comfortable to step into that superpower realm. But for most of us in the 3D, I think the more important is how we recognize our shadows. So if we cannot really see through the shadow and accept that as part of us, it'd be difficult to navigate our life. For us to realize our life actually do follow certain imprinting based on the time we are born. So when that imprinting in our energy, in our DNA, so we carry some sort of the blueprint. So when you're more aligned with your environment and you allow all the emotion to flow through without trap them inside of you, and it's like a flow. You flow with whatever. Then in the certain points, we will have different realization that we can start to really do what we need to do. So today I'm going to just share with you your activation sequence. They got three different sequences. First, the
Yeah.
activation is our doing and being. So that is so important, right? We're human being. We don't really know what is really being. We're just doing all the time. We're missing the half of the story, right?
Yeah.
And so the second one is Venus. Is more like our love journey, how we found ignore or don't like ourselves, become fully in love again. That's the Venus sequence. Then the Pearl is once you clean up all the misunderstanding about ourselves and forgivingness and all that, you will align with your vocation effortlessly. You can just connect with people or a synchronicity, everything will show up in your pearl sequence. But today I'm just focused on your activation sequence. The first pair from two spheres is for your doing is called life work and evolution. And based on the number 1 to 64, your life work is number 19. Number 19 is like you are on the edges to mutate. Like you can see the changes coming. That's your life work. You're always on the edge of something. So you can see both sides because you hermit. And when you are in that low vibe, which is default, you are experiencing some codependency. You think I need this in order to get that. So when you're not secure, that's everybody starts with defaults. You will have a journey to seek. And when you get mature, you feel more understanding the whole thing and your sensitivity go up. That means your intuition will direct you to places other than to attach to something I must to have, but now you give yourself a space. You are using your sensitivity to lead others and to benefit your tribe because you see something nobody see. Before they see it, you already see it. So that is your life work. The second sphere is called evolution. So when you do a lot of life work, evolution give you this lot of challenges in between. You will go through so many different experiences. So when you're on the evolution, when you are not ready to step into your role, you will forget who you are. That you are always going to ask why I'm here for, what I'm doing this. I have no idea. I'm so confused because that is the process for people on the evolution. And your key is 33. When you're forgetting, then of course you want to try to find an answer. The best way for you to get to the gift is through mindfulness practice. So when you do more of the alone time and the silent time, then you start to remember. So your sensitivity will go up. So even with your doing, you're very spiritual because you depends on that sensitivity. It depends on mindfulness, not mind, to shift the awareness a different area. So that's your doing. I don't know whether you want to comment anything.
Man, you are in my head pretty good right now. So that's really good. One of the things that came to mind when I feel like I'm at my best, I can reach my hand through somebody's chest, grab them by the heart, turn them, and say, go that way. And I don't know why I know. I just know every time. So a lot of those things, like I can see it before, like, because, and this is the part, like most people don't know that I felt very much as like an outsider and alone most of my life. So I've spent a lot of time in that observational mode, watching people and then wanting to be of service. And I can see the trends very well. And I do love, I derive great passion from being of service to people. There's no greater joy than for me to sit and just watch somebody do what they're great at. It brings me, I don't need to be doing anything. I just like to sit and go figure. And be witness to what they're capable of. And for whatever reason, I got the words to usually say, this is what you should be doing this way. So a lot of the things you said there, you said, I know when I feel insecure, when I feel like I'm dealing with that, let's call it imposter syndrome beforehand. I very, especially with some of my background, if I don't feel like what I'm stepping into, if I'm not stepping into in integrity and truly able to be of service, I do a lot of that questioning, and I won't even show up because it's not
there
I
yet.
know that it's not there yet. That being said, it's very frustrating because I know I have to wait longer and be more patient, which really is challenging for me because I want it yesterday. I think everybody wants everything yesterday. And I very much struggle with surrender to that at the end. So there was, but then all of a sudden, as you said, go back to being patient, sit with yourself. When almost everybody else in the world is telling me go do more, I go, actually, I need to do the exact opposite thing you're telling me. I need to sit And I need to believe in the bigger thing. Even though on the surface, it looks like you're right. I can't tell you why I know, but I just know.
The floating without doing and learn the lessons and polish our skills. And in the right moment, sometimes we decide to break through, go out our comfort zone. So the breakthrough from the activation sequence, you actually going to pass through a SQ. That SQ is called like spiritual intelligence. That is our 7 years imprinting process. We need to start to have courage to revisit that 7 years. When we get to finally loosening up that SQ, you go to the other side, and that is your beingness. So the radiance and purpose actually our beingness. So a lot of people say, well, my life purpose is doing this and go chasing that. But quite opposite, the purpose is always within our beingness. If you align with who you are, you understand, you fall in love again, your true self, your naked self, then that purpose will show up. You don't need to go out find it. But finding the process is necessary because that's not. Then you can back to the real purpose. If you don't, you just sit there in the mountain all the time. My purpose just sit here doing nothing, and then nothing can really happen, right? You have to do it in order to find a real purpose. So for 44, you are flowing from the lower ones interfere. And of course, when we are young and insecure, we want to know what's going on, the kind of FOMO kind of thing, fear of missing out. You have to learn it all. So we interview about this and that. It's not even our business. It's not our purpose, but we like to do that. But eventually you will find that interferes become, you don't need to do it all. You just need to find a good team. You need to get into contribute to a team, right? So your teamwork starts show up. So that is more like to make you healthy. If you can start to let go part of your life and just trust, I'm good for this and somebody good for that, and I'm fine with it, then that make you healthy and happy. So when you dance with your purpose, sometimes I call purpose kind of becoming, right? Because purpose is already here, but you're not ready or the skill is not right, you will stay there a little longer. But when you unleash the energy right and raise your consciousness, then your purpose will show up very clear. So that is the becoming process. So the being and becoming is always just kind of balance, right? So for you, your the key is 24. So that is the recovery key. Maybe it's from the low vice addiction. Addiction to certain patterns, right? So if you are raised in this way or eat certain food, you are attached to that thing. Then you believe that is who you are. But the addiction limit us. So if we say, okay, that's my purpose, I'm just doing this only, you can find the addition, then you have your own invention. And you can find something you did before and something you would like to do, but you become practical. You can invent something. You can start to create something and do it. You don't need to wait until the perfect moments. But when you're doing this, you start to see the layer of your purpose become clearer and clearer. So then you finally might have a chance to go to the highest, the silence. That's your naked Sunday practice, right? So you are, and it's just like you are doing something, you don't plan it, but it's happened for you.
Open. It's not stuff that hasn't been on my mind, but you definitely remind me of some of those things that said, I keep getting that nudge. I try to make things.
Yes,
I like to
yes.
talk about the esoteric because I enjoy it, but sometimes that's really hard for a lot of people because they're just not there yet. So if
Yeah,
I can open
it's the paradigm shift is coming soon eventually. Is because like we are in the cycle, the universe is in the cycle. So everything happened in the past, we come back sooner or later. It's just not the timing yet. But what we can do is just like you say, open-minded. You don't even know what we don't know, right? So I wonder is how people can find you. Like, did you have website or somewhere you want people to connect with you?
Yeah. You can always find me or you can go to the website nakedsundaystudios.com.
Mm-hmm.
I do plenty of time on social media. You can just search at Naked Sunday Studios. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn. What else? YouTube. The podcast, Naked Sunday Podcast, is on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. And if somebody's interested in doing some work together, I think you might have brought it up before, but I do something called the Empowered Leader Project. And it's about taking this holistic approach to well-being and physical, mental, emotional, which taps into the rest of your life, a holistic lifestyle transformation. I think especially for the heart-centered leaders in this world right now, I think are carrying a very heavy burden. I find so much joy and so much passion in giving them like a little bit of space to open the door. And like once they get that energy back and they feel that open up, man, like there's no greater joy than knowing they're going to go off and like make the world a better place with that.
When I review people's profile, for me, it's like we have so many gods and goddesses and floating in here as a human form. We just need to kind of show up with who we are and accept our roles. Before we close it, I don't know whether you have anything want to share with our audience.
I just hope that anybody who's listening to this derives a little bit of hope, knowing that if you have the courage to be honest with yourself, while it's a little bit scary, the journey you will go on, the ups and the downs and everything in between, the depth and the beauty of the relationships, not only with myself, but with the people that have stayed with me and gone on this path, it's worth it. It's worth it. And I think that's everybody's biggest fear. I'm going to go on this thing. What if it doesn't work out? It'll work out if you make it work out. And more importantly, what's working out is realizing what kind of love is actually around you and you've already won. So give yourself permission to go on the journey.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Caleb.
Thank you. I appreciate you as well. Thank you so much.
All right. Bye.